An Indian parliamentary committee has proposed that the judges of the country's top court and high court should declare their assets. It says this would bring more trust and credibility into the system. Will the judges agree? And what is the committee's argument here? Basically, it says that the people, the public, have the right to know. Candidates standing for elections as members of parliament or legislative assembly are required to do the same, so the judges should do the same. The recommendation was made at a parliamentary panel on law and justice. It was chaired by India's ruling party, Sushil Modi. Let's take you back in time. In 1997, the Indian top court adopted a charter. It was called the Restatement of Values of Judicial Life. It basically lays down judicial standards for apex court and high court judges. This resolution mandated every top court and high court judge to declare their assets and liabilities at the beginning of every year. And later, in 2019, the top court decided to disclose the statement to the public through its official website. However, the full court later resolved to declare the assets purely on a voluntary basis. 55 judges have so far uploaded their assets and declaration on the website. The last update was done back in the year 2018. No judge has declared their assets in the last 5 years. The charter does not have any authority for legal enforcement. It's only a moral obligation. The panel on law and justice also mentioned that India's higher judiciary suffers from a diversity deficit. It says the representation of marginalized sections of the society and women in the higher judiciary is far below the desired levels, that it does not reflect the social diversity of the country. In fact, the panel has also advocated for increasing the retirement age of the judges and called for doing away with long summer and winter vacations. Several committee members pointed out that the long vacations affect speedy resolution of the piled-up cases. Friction between the government and the judiciary is not uncommon. Judges may have their criticism for some of the committee proposals. Will the judges agree to declaring their assets? Shorter vacations. How will things unfold? Last week, Indonesia hosted the annual Miss Universe beauty pageant. While there was a lot of glitz and glamour, the participants have now revealed the event's ugly side. 6 finalists have alleged that they were sexually abused by the organizers. 6 finalists. The details are disturbing, to say the least. 2 days before the final event, the contestants were allegedly asked to take off their tops. Why? Because the organizers wanted to conduct body checks. Not only were the contestants asked to strip, they were also photographed topless in a room full of over 20 people, including men. One participant, in fact, said she had been asked to pose inappropriately. She was told to open her legs. First of all, what was the meaning of these body checks? What purpose did they serve? They seem pretty uncalled for. Secondly, why were the contestants put through this humiliation in the first place? What explains photographing them in a way that is clearly uncomfortable and violating? Let me now just read out some of the contestants' testimonies for you. I'm quoting, "I felt like I was being peeked on. I was very confused and uncomfortable. I feel that my rights have been violated. It has affected me mentally. I have had trouble sleeping." That's what another contestant said. So what do the organizers have to say about all this? Director Poppy Capella shared this statement via Instagram. "We at Miss Universe Indonesia are closely monitoring the situation." The Global Miss Universe organization also said it was looking into the matter. The statement read, and I'm quoting, "Miss Universe takes allegations of sexual abuse and impropriety extremely seriously. Providing a safe place for women is the Miss Universe organization's utmost priority." Now, isn't that what the organizers usually do? Respond when the deed is already done? Launch investigations? Promise solutions? what about the contestants' basic safety to begin with? How is it justified to humiliate them in the name of a competition? It was uncalled for, but it isn't uncommon. For a good 2 decades, former US President Donald Trump owned the Miss Universe organization, and his reputation speaks for itself. The former American president, in fact, has a long history of sexual assault accusations and predatory remarks about women. From walking into a teen dressing room to joking about his obligation to sleep with contestants, Donald Trump is a storied pageant creep. I'm not the one who's saying that. Mr. Trump has bragged about his deeds himself. In 2005, on the Howard Stern radio show, Trump said that as the owner of the pageant, he was allowed to stroll in backstage whenever he felt like it. He said, and I'm quoting now, "You know, no men are anywhere, and I'm allowed to go in because I am the owner of the pageant. And therefore, I'm inspecting it. Is everyone okay? You know, they are standing there with no clothes, and you see these incredible looking women. And so I sort of get away with things like that," quote unquote. It's painful even to read that. What was he even thinking while making those statements? The first Miss Universe crowned on Trump's watch was Miss Venezuela, Alicia Mercado. Mercado remembers him calling her Miss Piggy because she had gained weight. She also hurled racial slurs at her. He also hurled racial slurs at her because she is Latina. Years after years, Trump's comments kept becoming more problematic. In 2010, Donald Trump boasted on television that when he bought Miss USA, he made the heels higher and the bathing suits smaller. The painful commentary finally came to an end in the year 2015. Trump kicked off his election campaign with racist comments against Mexicans. One by one, the pageant's hosts, judges, sponsors, broadcasters started pulling out, and Donald Trump was forced to sell off the pageant to WME. Yes, now, there wasn't a political figure outright harassing contestants, but were they treated any better is the question. No, the abuse seems to have continued. Just last year, the vice president of Miss USA, Max Sibrex, was quietly asked to step down. Sibrex had sent sexually explicit messages to multiple contestants. Screenshots of the problematic texts circulated in multiple reports. He, in fact, also sent out a graphic video, as per reports, in which he was seen pleasuring himself. At least 4 contestants received sexual advances from Sibrex in the year 2021. And now, what has happened in Indonesia is right in front of you. How long before this comes to an end? Let's now shift our focus to the United States, a country which likes to project itself as the flag bearer of people's rights, freedom, equality. Well, the situation on the ground is far from that. Have a look at what's happening at the White House itself. The gender pay gap issue there is making headlines around the world. The US president claims to be a crusader for women's rights, but the gender pay gap this year at the White House stands at 20%. Our next report telling you more.
And that's not hyperbole. It's going to shape what the next two generations look like.
During his 2020 presidential campaign, Joe Biden pledged to close the gender pay gap and fight gender discrimination. In June 2021, he signed an executive order. He called on the Office of Personnel Management to review compensation packages and report back to the president on how to advance equal pay. In 2022, US President Joe Biden went a step further, proclaiming the 15th of March as Equal Pay Day, promising to advance pay equity in the federal workforce, ensure equitable access to good-paying jobs, and address discrimination.
Gender equality is not a woman's issue alone. It benefits everybody. That's a fact. It benefits everyone. our society, our economy, and our country.
But despite those pledges, the US president is yet to put his own house in order. The White House. Figures from the annual pay report reveal just how concerning the situation really is. The analysis of the report revealing that under Biden's administration, women staff members on average earn 80 cents for every dollar paid to their male counterparts, and this figure was 89 cents under President Barack Obama in the year 2016. In fact, it fell to as low as 73 cents the following year under President Trump. And incidentally, women hold some of the most senior positions in the Biden administration. A total of 269 women work at the White House, while men account for 179 positions. Yet, analysis shows that the median salary of men in Biden staff is $105,000, while the median salary of female staff is significantly lower at $84,000. The annual pay report submitted to the Congress, in fact, disclosed the names, positions, and salaries of over 440 staff members. While the difficulty in closing the gender pay gap at the White House speaks volumes, especially for those who view it as gender discrimination and economic injustice, experts believe that if Joe Biden cannot address the problem, then it would be irresponsible for the White House and others to justify new policy proposals. According to reports, over his 35-year Senate career, Joe Biden paid women less than men every single year. In fact, at one point, women working for Joe Biden were paid just 44 cents for every dollar paid to men. And as Biden seeks another term in office, it remains to be seen if he actually practices what he preaches. WION now available in your country. Download the app now. Get all the updates on the move.